Chapter 359. A Muslim Girl in the West, Section 12. The Executive Committee of the Sudanese Students Association, SSA, sent Nadia, Sarah, and Badria to Dr. Ibtihal's apartment to invite her for a friendly discussion with the intellectual Sudanese students at the National and Kapodistrian University of Athens. The Executive Committee preferred to call the friendly discussion a students' conference. The three girls promised Dr. Ibtihal that it would be done in a peaceful and friendly atmosphere. Dr. Ibtihal welcomed the invitation and promised to come. Nadia, Sarah, and Badriya told Dr. Ibtihal that the students wanted to ask her some questions about her love affair with a Christian man and her conversion to Christianity and the problems that followed. Dr. Ibtihal promised to answer all the questions that the students might ask. Nonetheless, Dr. Ibtihal had no knowledge of the protests and struggles that took place because of her between the different groups of the Sudanese students in Athens. The student conference was scheduled to take place on Sunday at 4 p.m., in the Sudanese Students' Club, SSC. The Muslim brothers and sisters and the supporters of the Mohammedan Sunnah had decided to boycott the student conference. They threatened to excommunicate any one of their members if he or she attended the conference. Moreover, they announced in their private newspaper, which is called the Jihad, that by participating in such conference the Muslim man or woman would encourage apostasy and unlawful relationship between a Muslim woman and a Christian man. In spite of that, 2,000 people attended the conference. Most of them were Sudanese students. Other Muslim students originally from countries like Iran, Pakistan, Somalia, and Middle East attended too. When Dr. Ibtihal arrived at the SSC, she was terrified when she saw the Muslim brothers, sisters, and the supporters of the Prophet's Sunnah were standing in front of the building and carrying placards and distributing leaflets condemning her by name. However, her fear was subsided when she saw the big number of the Athenian police who gathered around the building. While she was forcing her way across the crowded students, she heard some of them calling her some bad names, such as a filthy infidel, apostate, bitch, dirty whore, and many more. Nadia told Dr. Ibtihal to ignore them. Sarah responded back and called some of them cowards. Dr. Ibtihal was amazed when she entered the club hall and saw the crowd that waiting for her. She did not expect to find such a big number of people. Someone introduced her to the audience as soon as she occupied her seat. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Sudanese Students Association of Athens, I would like to welcome our guest speaker Dr. Ibtihal Osman Taha. Dr. Ibtihal was born and brought up in a Muslim family. Her parents were members of the royal family in Sudan. She was a medical doctor in one of the biggest hospitals in the capital city of Sudan, Khartoum. Shortly after completing her medical training, she fell in love with a Christian man from the south of Sudan. Later on she converted to Christianity. She was arrested and condemned by the Sharia court in Khartoum. The court passed the death penalty on her due to her conversion. Somehow, she managed to escape from prison and found her way to Greece. As we all know, she was a prime suspect on the recent terrorists' attacks on Athens. Nevertheless, the Athenian court dropped the charges against her and she was acquitted from that serious accusation. Now she is living as a refugee in Athens. Dr. Ibtihal might like to add or correct what I have said about her. I would like to invite her to come here and speak a few words before we open the door for the guests' questions. But before that, I would like to remind the guests that Dr. Ibtihal has the rights to refuse to answer any question which she thinks embarrassing, insulting, or too personal. Also, I would like to remind the guests that anyone creates disturbance or misbehaves would be taken out of the hall or might be arrested by the police. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Dr. Ibtihal, for accepting our invitation. Dr. Ibtihal stood up and walked gracefully toward the speaker. She was a bit surprised for the sudden change in her feelings. While the speaker was talking, she was shaking in fear. Suddenly, everything in her mind and heart instantly settled to normal. Ladies and gentlemen, said Dr. Ibtihal with a pleasant feminine voice, I am so proud to be given such an honor by the Intellectual Sudanese Students Association in Athens. I am also thankful to everyone present here. I pray to God to give me the wisdom and courage to answer your questions. Whatever the speaker has said about me is true. Even so, I would like to make some explanation. My conversion from Islam to Christianity has nothing to do with my love affair with the Christian man. It was not because of him, nor of any human or material gains that I left Islam and embraced Christianity. I accepted Christianity because while I was in the jail in Sudan I tried several times to kill myself. At that critical time, I heard a voice saying to me, "Come to me, you heavy laden, and I will give you rest. I will never leave you nor forsake you." Those words were the only reason that made me to change my religion and nothing else. That voice was the voice of Jesus Christ. He promised to be with me all the days of my life. He always fulfilled his promise. When I was sentenced to death because of my conversion from Islam to Christianity, he intervened and saved me from the gallows and used people I did not know to bring me all the way from Sudan to this country. When I was accused of being a prime suspect in the recent vicious attacks of the terrorists on this city, he proved my innocence and led the Athenian criminal court to exculpate me from that malicious accusation which some wicked Muslim women in the Arab women's shelter tried to fix me with it. He then used me as an instrument to expose those cowards who planned that deadly attacks on innocent people. Some people took me to court twice in this city and tried to extradite me back to Sudan to face the death penalty for my conversion, but they could not. A cousin of mine shot 3 bullets in my chest, but Jesus saved my life too. And I do believe he will be with me all the days of my life. Having said that, I would be glad to answer any question which concerns me personally. I would not answer any question which has religious sentiments or meant to insult my new faith or my love affair with Dr. Samir. As soon as Dr. Ibtihal finished her words, half of the audience raised their hands. Dr. Ibtihal chose at random someone and asked him to put forward his question. Bism Allah al-Rahman al-Rahim, said an elderly Arab man, "I would like to know why the female Sudanese doctor left Islam and became Christian." Before she answers my first question, I would like this woman to prove to us she was a Muslim before. Anyone can come and claim to be a Muslim converted to Christianity. Can the doctor tell us how many rakat in the prayer for the dead? First of all, I think this gentleman did not listen carefully to the news concerning my accusation in the cowardly terrorists' attacks in this city. Because of my conversion from Islam to Christianity, I was proved innocent from that serious charge. Secondly, when the Muslims pray for the dead, they don't prostrate or do any rak'ah. Concerning his first question, I have already said because Jesus spoke to me when I was in prison in Sudan. "What did you find good in Christianity that is not in Islam?" shouted a young Sudanese woman without being given a chance to speak. "Order, please." If anyone asks question without being given permission by the guest speaker, we would ask him to leave the hall immediately, said the president of the SSA. Instead, Dr. Ibtihal pointed her hand toward a young woman and requested her to ask her question. "I would like to ask our guest speaker, does she still believe that the Quran is a heavenly book that the angel Gabriel had revealed to our blessed Prophet Muhammad, may the prayers and peace of Allah be upon him?" If the answer is no, I would like the speaker to give us reasons why she doesn't believe in it. Dr. Ibtihal's sharp memories recollected the words of Dr. Samir when he sat every Thursday evening in the swimming cuisine and proved to her that the Quran was a collection of some Jewish fables, Christian myths, and Arab and Persian legends. The audience listened silently to Dr. Ibtihal until she began to speak about the hostile teachings of the Quran toward the pagan Arabs, Jews, and Christians, and its evil, immoral, and misogynistic teachings about women. The security men dragged out of the hall 15 male students and 9 female students for their constant interruption and misconduct. Before Dr. Ibtihal finished her answer to that question, many people left the hall in anger. Accordingly, the executive committee of the SSA decided to end the Friendly Students' Conference before Dr. Ibtihal had finished her answer. That evening, the so-called filthy Sudanese apostate and infidel was escorted out of the hall under heavy security.